What episode are we on? You can keep that clip in. What's up, Modern Lending Podcasters? Here we are for episode 7 of the Modern Lending Podcast. I am bringing to you David King, the Chief Marketing Officer for loanDepot, to talk about brand and marketing in a contemporary age. You don't want to miss this one. There's a lot of confusion around what it is to brand yourself and what does a brand mean. And there's a lot of people that are confusing that with logos and taglines and colors. And while all those things have a place, man, tune in. You're going to really enjoy this conversation. Let's kick it off with David King. What's up, everybody? Here we go. Another episode of the Modern Lending Podcast. I'm here with my homie David King, the Chief Marketing Officer at loanDepot.
That's right.
We're going to have some fun.
I hope so.
I got some good stuff. I got some questions. We got some stuff to talk about. And so for those of you who don't know, I've known and been actually a fan of David's in the industry for a long time. Watching what you've done at previous companies, I'd love for you to share some of it on your background. But you're newer to loanDepot.
4 months.
4 months old.
4 months.
So that's kind of like you got your toddler legs, you're walking around a little bit. But that's I'm really excited to talk to you about lots of stuff. Number one, I feel like you have tremendously cool insight into branding and into storytelling and into kind of that marketing aspect that is very contemporary and everyone's kind of leaning into. So I'd love to unpack that. And before we go into my questions, give everybody who's listening, either on YouTube and watching, hello, love you guys, or on the podcast, kind of just your background so people can know who you are, who don't know you.
So I was just talking just a few minutes ago about how I kind of came into what I do now.
Yeah.
Been doing what I do now for almost 10 years. But really, I say I got into it by accident, but not really. I own my own business. I was in a completely different industry.
Which was?
Home security systems.
That is very close to marketing.
So I worked for between 5 to 6 years for ADT Security.
Awesome.
And I did mostly sales, but I did some install as well. I really wanted to get my hands dirty.
When you say sales, was this door to door or was this relationship sales?
Both.
You did door knocking.
I did.
Oh, we got to know what the street's like.
You learn a lot about yourself when you got to knock on a door. And I did both residential and small business. I believe it was 5,000 square feet and under.
Yeah.
So it was all strip malls and that kind of thing. So I was in that. I did about 5 to 6 years of sales and install as well. Learned the industry really well to the point where I felt like I should own my own business. Why not?
Heck
yeah, I know this thing.
Do it.
I'll do it. So own my own business for about 6 years doing the same thing. I was the CEO, the CFO, the CMO, and the sales guy.
Yeah, dude.
It was basically just me.
I always joke a little bit because there's so many people that very quickly, especially in the Insta age, become the CEOs, and founders of nothing.
Yep. King Solutions LLC.
King Solutions.
That's it.
Boom.
Yeah. So did that for about 6 years. But I've told this story a million times, but it was 2007. Our kids were roughly 8 and 6. And my wife was known for always having a camcorder in her hand. My brother bought me my very first camcorder for our wedding back in 1999. One of these guys, right?
Yeah. And for the audience, what's a camcorder?
right.
Some millennials what is that?
Tape-based. It was a tape-based camcorder. Yeah.
Mini tapes.
Yeah. So I bought my wife. She always had that video camera. So we've got still to this day, well, I don't think we have VHS, but we had VHS, a closet full of VHS. Yes. And then I put it over to digital on DVD and so on. But it was our 10th anniversary, I think, or maybe 8th. It was 2007. That was the era when technology was really getting smarter, smaller.
Oh, yeah. It was wild.
It was the year the iPhone came out.
Oh.
So that was a few years before that is when HD became a thing.
Yep.
And you could still buy 720 TVs. And then the new thing was 1080, 1080i, then 1080p. So
now they're just giving away those TVs.
They are.
Literally, it's like you go to Best Buy and they're like, would you like a free TV with your candy bar or whatever?
Exactly. So I bought my wife a new camcorder, a little small digital camcorder.
Nice.
Thought it was the greatest thing in the world. Around the same time, bought myself my very first Apple product, an iMac. And so I'm playing around with my iMac one night, and I open up iMovie. What's iMovie? quickly figured out that I didn't have any footage to edit with.
You got to have something in there.
So I'm living in Virginia Beach at the time. And as I said, I want to get some footage so I can play around with this iMovie thing.
Yeah.
My wife, my 2 kids, and my mom went down to the beach, Virginia Beach, and we played wiffle ball for about an hour.
You just filmed them.
Filmed it. And had my daughter hold the camera sometime,
Nice.
and my mom held the camera.
Yeah.
And, you know.
Family event.
Yeah, so I went back home, and I cut together a little 2.5, 3-minute long video. I thought it was the greatest thing since sliced bread.
It's amazing.
Put it on YouTube. This is before I'm on Facebook. And put it on YouTube, and a few weeks later, I go back to it, and it's got, I don't know, 100 views, 200 views, something like that, more than I was expecting.
Yeah.
And I was just tickled by that. And so I did another one, and kind of the same result. And I was like, oh, man, I really love this video thing.
Yeah.
You know, telling stories.
Oh, my gosh.
And so that goes on for, I don't know, 6 months or so. And at this time, I'm going to a pretty large church in Virginia Beach who does media very well, big stage production and so on. So I decided I would go and see if I could volunteer in their media department, learn a little bit about the trade.
There you go.
And the guy who ran media, they had a TV show and all that stuff.
So big production.
Big production.
Yeah.
And so I start volunteering and learning a little bit more about professional grade editing, professional grade cameras.
And you're still running the ADT business?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And I had that until 2011.
Oh, wow.
This is all the way back in 2007.
Yeah.
And they asked me to put together a video that would play during Memorial Day. And the band would sing a big, powerful, emotional song. And my video would play timed out to the words and this, that, and the other. And the video plays, and there's about 2,000 people in the auditorium. Yep. And song ends, big crescendo moment type thing, and everyone's on their feet. Not because I cut together the most amazing video ever. It was obviously out of respect for Memorial Day.
Sure.
But I looked around, and I could see tears in people's eyes. And it was that moment, after about maybe doing a year just worth of discovery and research and watching YouTube tutorials, teaching myself Final Cut Pro, and, it was at that moment that I decided that I'd found something that I really, truly was passionate about. I wasn't passionate about my business. I started that business because I was good at what I did, and I wanted to be my own boss and make my own money and have that freedom, flexibility. But I'll never own another business. Well, you never know. But I really found something that I was truly passionate about. I discovered something in me that I didn't know was there.
Yeah. And
something that brought me fulfillment and joy when I saw the emotion that was being drawn out of these people after a moment that I helped
an experience
create.
That's awesome.
So that's how a long time ago kind of started in the creative world with a stupid little YouTube wiffle ball movie.
It's incredible. Is it still on YouTube?
It is.
Everyone's in like, I'm going to look this up now.
Don't find it.
Yeah, they're going to find it.
Yeah.
Dude, people have been finding Drive Time with Alec and smashing me. So I'm not, your wiffle ball commercial's got nothing.
So I'll kind of fast forward after that of how I got from there.
But I love the inspiration moment. That was incredibly cool. So what happened?
So I go on a journey, and I told myself, I was out to eat with my brother, father, sister, and I said, I'm going to find some way to do this for a living. At that point, I'd been doing it as mostly a hobby for about a year, maybe a year and a half. I said, I'm going to find some way to do this for a living because I love it. And so after a while of just continuing doing the hobby thing, I started to get a couple phone calls from friends. Hey, could you some gigs?
Yeah.
And so then it turned into a side business, a freelance type opportunity where I was doing on nights and weekends. Started making a little bit of money.
Yeah.
I'd invest that into a new camera.
Yeah. Get the new gear.
Make a little bit of more money, buy new lens. Yep. Make a little bit more money, buy a new lighting kit, and so on. And that goes on for about another 2 years-ish.
Okay. I'm
just kind of making up time frames. But that goes on for about another 2 years. And this was 2010, 2 years after the big mortgage crash, meltdown. And so my business just wasn't going anywhere, and I knew that. And at that point, my business had turned into a subcontracting business. So I was doing that for ADT. They'd hire my company to do their installs for them. And the day after Christmas, 2010, I go in to get my jobs for the next week or month, and they said, we just merged with another large company, big acquisition, no more subcontractors. And so I literally go back to door knocking.
Dude, talk about it. So there's loan officers, by the way, that really understand that, because they had their businesses shifted so dramatically in the crisis that it was like, oh, it's full reinvention time. Dude, I love that.
So I go back to door knocking for 6 months, and it was the most miserable time of my life. You know, after owning a business for 5 years or so, and then you go back to just kind of
grind. He's like, I thought I earned this already.
Yeah, but I learned a lot about myself during that time. You know, what I was good at, what I wasn't good at. Huh. And, you know, a good buddy of mine in the mortgage industry, a loan officer, called me up, knew I just hated what I was doing. He said, hey, we're hiring for a graphic designer. Do you want to come in and interview?
Yes.
And
you're like, excuse me.
I was like, I knew my way around Photoshop, Illustrator, that kind of thing.
All self-taught.
All self-taught, but I wouldn't classify myself as a designer, graphic designer. But I went in, I said, I'm going to try and convince these guys to let me be a full-time video production staff at a mortgage company. I go in and they're like, no, we're a mortgage company. We don't need video. A full-time video guy? What?
By the way, fast forward 10 years and it's you're everything. So ahead of the time.
Yeah. And, you know, I interviewed with the founder of the co-founder of the company, and, you know, I tried to convince him to hire me as a video guy. Yeah. And he was like, no, we don't need video, but I think you'd make a great loan officer. Try to convince me to become a loan officer. I said, I've been in sales for 10 years. I'm done. I found your passion. I found a passion. Yeah. That I really was excited and, you know, was okay at the time. And he said, no. I walk out and he said, you ever change your mind, just give me a call. I said the same thing. You ever change your mind, you want a video to be part of what you do, call me, type thing. So his other partner, he was in church that weekend watching a video.
Weird.
Yeah. It was about a week. Yeah. Within the same week or so. And the video moved him emotionally, and in church picks his phone out of his pocket and says, hey, partner, next guy you hire in marketing needs to be a video guy. So I come on board as a video guy, and I really honestly thought it was just a stepping stone. I really thought it was just my entry into the whole creative world. Yeah. And ended up staying there for 7 years. Awesome. Yeah. And really just, I started that company with me and one other guy. Yep. My boy, Trey Rigdon. He ended up being, anyway, and left that company and had built a team of, it was about 40 to 50 people, all in marketing, communications, and a few other things.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So fast forward now, and you took a brief stint serving the real estate community.
I did.
Which is cool. Yeah. You get a little background on our biggest partners and how they market and what their needs and desires are. And then you got sucked back into to mortgage.
I never thought it'd happen.
Well, so you had that one line. Do you know the line I'm talking about? That it was the greatest line I've ever heard in my life.
I think so.
About loan officers?
No, I'm not going to say that one.
Well, I just, what I appreciate about that admission, and just your heart in the space, is that once you get into this business and you realize that the crazy salespeople are amazing human beings who are accomplishing such incredible things and impacting their local community, there really isn't many people like loan officers in the world. You know, they're just a unique, diverse, you know, some are super highly educated, you know, master's degrees, some just came out of high school, and they're just great human beings that are doing crazy stuff, and yeah, there's a love for them.
Yeah. I'll tell you the story, but it comes from a perspective of respect, because I've been in sales before. I've door knocked. I've done the grind type thing. But, you know, when you're in sales, the sales are the front line. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Of any sales organization. Duh. But they are also very needy. They're kind of kind of individual business owners type thing.
That's a great way to look at it.
So I worked with loan officers for 7 years and took 18 months away from mortgage and started working with real estate agents. And I was interviewing with Jeff Walsh, with you, with Dan, and, you know, Jeff made the comment. He said, we love that you've got 7 years of mortgage experience, but we really like the fact that you've got 18 months, you know, your feet wet in the real estate industry as well. And I just kind of chuckled. It wasn't a pre-planned statement, but I just kind of chuckled and I said, after 18 months of working with real estate agents, I never thought I'd be so happy to work with loan officers directly again.
I love it.
But when you're in sales, like I said, I say that in jest.
Yeah, for sure.
Because that's who I serve. I serve our loan officers.
Yep.
They serve real estate partners and much more. But yeah.
All right. So let's, that was an awesome kind of background for people that don't know you, know your history. This is kind of the meat I want to kind of dive into. Branding.
Yeah.
Personal branding, marketing in a contemporary sense. Tons of buzzwords, tons of books on it. We were joking before we hit record on this, there's 5 years plus of just people just branding. And there's a lot of validity behind that, and that's important to kind of unpack and understand it. But there's also a lot of confusion around it.
Sure.
And so I think people misidentify what that really means, or have general confusion about what to do, and so they get distracted maybe about what really matters in it. And so I'd love for you to share a little bit of your perspective, and then I'll share some of mine too, and we can have a dialogue about it. And just what does branding mean? And loan officers are hearing that word everywhere. What does it mean to you, and how do you see it in your job as the CMO? And just share some insight from that level, because I think it would be helpful.
Yeah, so there's a book, I think it's called The Brand Gap, and it really dives into the concept of the fact that a brand is way more than your logo, your color palette.
Yep.
It really is kind of who you are, and I've used this example a million times. It's one of my favorite TED Talks, third most watched TED Talk out there, the world-renowned Simon Sinek, The
Yep.
Golden Circle.
Yep.
Who, what, why. And really for me, that's branding. That's the best branding talk out there, is from Simon Sinek. Is really, you got to understand ultimately who you are. He said most companies can tell you what they do. Most companies can tell you what they do, how they do it.
Yeah.
The very few companies are the companies that really truly get it right, is why they do what they do. And some companies define that in their mission statement. Some companies define it other ways. But yeah, that's what I think of when I think of corporate kind of branding, is really, who are you as a company? More so than just your visual identity.
Yeah.
Your style guide. That's a small portion of branding.
Style
to me.
guide.
Yeah.
For sure. Brand book.
Yeah, brand book. And that's not something that I can change or move the needle on dramatically. And who we are as a company is our founder, Anthony Shea.
For sure.
And I see loanDepot and Anthony Shea as being synonymous.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard not to. He's got a big voice in the industry. He's out in front on a lot of stuff, especially on social media. Mm-hmm. And so, you can make the connection.
Yeah.
But I love what you said, and I want to unpack it a little bit. A lot of loan officers tend to fall back to the how and the what. I provide home loans.
Right.
I'm a 5-star service guy or gal. I give good rates. I have a lot of products. I close fast. All that stuff is the what and the how surrounding their brand, which they're not necessarily identifying, which is, the why. So I think that if you're listening and you heard, David unpack that a little bit, it's a reflective point for you. What is your why that is at the center of how and what you're doing? Because until somebody can connect to that, they don't care how fast you can close a loan, mm-hmm. or how good your product depth is. You haven't identified it for them. You're a commodity almost. Mm-hmm. So I think that's a really core message. I don't think people ought to hear it very often.
The second time I sat down with Anthony 5-6 months ago, we met for breakfast at a little restaurant, and he used the phrase several times throughout the 70, 80 minutes when I was with him. He kept on saying the phrase, delight the customer. That's kind of, our goal, our mission, and so on. And it really stuck out to me. And, it's not a mission statement, but it's really Anthony's desire to really delight the customer. How do you do that?
Yeah, it's hard. Yeah.
You equip loan officers with best in class tech, best marketing.
Platform and position. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's so many variables to that to ultimately delight your customer, but that's kind of at the core of kind of who we are. And that's kind of true or it should be true for every company out there. But when you dive into that significantly and what that means in every channel of our business and vertical of our business, then it truly, the great companies figure that out in every aspect.
I want to go back and talk about the brand concept again, and come at it from a different angle, because I think it'd be helpful. And in our chat before we hit record, it was so funny that we do the exact same thing with showcasing brands to people. So for those of you that don't know, or if you come through loanDepot, you've known, because I do this I've done it for a long time. There's a certain slide at New Hire where I throw up big, recognizable corporate brand logos. Yeah. Just a logo. Just the logo.
Sure.
And then I ask the New Hire group to go through and share their emotional or one-word response to what they're seeing, just right off the head. Just don't think about it, just what comes out of your mouth. And you do the same thing. And so when you're doing it, what are you trying to showcase and explain when you're doing that to a group?
I'm not sure if you do this or not, but I will usually show 2 logos within the kind of either same industry or the same realm. And I'll usually, depending on, I've done this maybe 5 times or so in front of a small group, large group.
Yeah.
And I want to draw out the emotional response that you get from a brand. So
emotional response.
Emotional response.
Yeah, that's the key word right there for people listening.
So I'll usually use I'll sometimes use region-specific logos.
Of course.
So I'll pick 2 NFL teams.
Yes.
Where
there's emotional connection.
There's
someone's pissed.
Yeah. Or I'll show like a McDonald's versus a Ruth's Chris.
Yeah.
You get
polar brands,
or the quality type thing. So I use that as an example of what branding is, and it's the feeling that you get. So good. Logo is a part of your identity.
That's right.
But it's more about the feeling that you get when you associate in your mind a particular brand. And so that's really the goal of that exercise. Done it maybe 4 to 6 times or so, and it's a fun exercise.
It is. And if you're listening and you're a loan officer working on branding for yourself, this is a core message. I think a lot of people get caught up in, to your point, the brand guidelines, the color, the look, the logo, the tagline, and what they're either missing or not paying attention to enough, because those things aren't bad, is just the underlying reality of this becomes an emotional connection with the people that you're talking to, your sphere of influence, your community online, your local families. These are they're going to have an emotional response to you, not to your tagline. Mm-hmm. It doesn't invalidate the tagline, but if you miss focusing on the emotional thing, so one of the brands I do at New Hire is Amazon, and it's a massive brand. And by the way, can you picture the logo in your head?
Yeah.
Okay, because I'm such a dumb sales guy.
Yeah, took you a while to figure it out.
That the little
A to Z.
A to Z. I thought it was a smile.
Yeah.
I was such an idiot. Someone told that to me, and I was like, I'm dumb. The
FedEx one, right?
No.
You don't know the FedEx logo?
No, I can picture it.
You'll never look at it the same.
Uh-oh. Why?
There's a forward-moving arrow.
Yeah?
It's cut out of the X, I believe.
Okay.
And so the next time you look at it, the only thing you'll be able to see is that arrow. They're moving forward.
This is why
salespeople
are special.
Do you know what's hidden in the loanDepot logo? Nothing. No, it's the L on the D, of course, but no.
If you don't know what's hidden there, then we can't tell you. It's a secret. But but my point is, Amazon's a well-known brand. A lot of people are users of them for a variety of things. And the immediate reaction I get from most of the people in New Hire is this feeling of, it's not euphoric, that's too happy, but it's this it's a nice, warm, and what it is this expectation of this box they're getting delivered. I think it ties back into when we used to get snail mail and a package from somebody. Yeah. And it ties back into all those emotions that a lot of people had. And I'm sure the next generations will experience it differently because it's so used to it. But, a lot of us, we didn't get packages all the time. And now when we get them, it's like it connects to like an older emotion. I think that's part of the power of the brand.
100%.
Yeah.
And it comes, one of the things I talk about all the time is authenticity. So you can't be something you're not. You can't, whether it's a video, whether it's your mission statement, it's got to be true to who you are.
And that's hard for salespeople because a lot of us are chameleons. We want to show up in certain ways to get a deal. I wrestled with this early in my career where there's a lot of different types of real estate agents. So I would try to be everybody for everybody.
Cater to your audience.
Yeah, like the social agents that wanted to go out and drink at 3. I'd try to hang and like, oh yeah, like I love that. Even though I hate that. Like I have no desire to do that at all. Thank you. Maybe with certain people, but like I'm not into small talk. So if you ever took the DISC test, personality profile test,
I did not when I came on board at loanDepot.
The long story short is I'm a D, which is like my best realtors were like, turn on the egg timer and be like, you have 2 minutes to tell me why I should work with you. It's like, let's go. The ones that want to spend 4 days, hanging out and talking about our kids and our life, I'm like, you don't care. I don't care. Let's move on. But this is very personality oriented. And so you say be authentic. And, I think for a lot of salespeople that can be hard. We kind of mask ourselves. We kind of show up as product experts, show up as we have every tool. We're ready to go. We have to always be perfect.
Yeah.
That can be very hard.
Yeah. You got to stay in your lane.
So how does a loan officer do that? What advice would you give them?
Well, we were talking about this earlier. I think for the last probably 7 years, my role has been to really elevate the overarching brand.
So let's talk about that for a second, because I always end with, letting whoever's here give some insight down to the sales level, and I know you got some cool stuff to share. What are you just launched a really cool campaign for loanDepot.
Next X.
Yeah. Which is pretty epic. So explain kind of what it is, because I still think people are wondering, and if someone's listening who's not part of the company or a past customer of ours, maybe they can get some insight here.
Yeah.
What are we doing?
So again, before I joined loanDepot, but when I was having these conversations with Anthony, he put it on my radar pretty quickly that we're coming up to our 10-year anniversary.
Yep.
And the size and scale that we've reached so far as an organization in 10 years is incredible. So he really wanted to celebrate that 10th anniversary in a unique way. So
it's a big deal.
Part of what I do is events, love events.
Yeah.
And so we started having the conversations. We'll fly everyone to Orange County.
Yeah.
And we'll have a big party celebration. And then we're like, is that really honoring this achievement the best way possible?
Yep.
Does it bring lift to the organization? Yeah. I'm not going to spend all this money if it really is just a 2-hour party.
Right.
Type thing. So then we went back to the drawing board, and maybe we'll fly,
pockets,
6 cities across the country, and we'll have these mini parties, similar in style type thing.
Yep.
And we'll all cheers, a glass of champagne, toast type thing. And, cause we knew that everyone couldn't come out to Orange County, but is that really honoring this massive milestone the best way we know how?
Yeah.
So then we really just kind of, again, went back to the drawing board, and we wanted this to have impact to loanDepot, to its employees, its teammates. We said, what's the best way we can impact people's lives? Mm-hmm. And so then that's when Anthony came up with the idea of the sweepstakes.
Yeah.
We can't touch everything. Would it be cool if I send you a Next X hat, T-shirt? Sure. Might end up in the trash. Let's really figure out a way to impact people's lives. And so that's where we came up with the concept. Anthony, give him all the credit. We'll honor 18 people. 10 customers, 10 loanDepot employees.
I actually love the balance of that.
Yeah.
That feels right to me.
We couldn't have gotten here without both.
Well, yeah, you need both.
Yeah. So let's honor 10 customers, 10 employees. 9 customers and 9 employees in a pretty impactful way. $10,000.
Yeah, that's a lot of money.
Yeah. Every month starting in March, we'll announce a winner all the way through December. The 2 grand prize winners in December, we're going to pay off their mortgage.
That's so cool.
Up to $250,000.
Yeah.
Because I just talked about that, you got to put the disclosure at the end of this video.
Do we really?
Yeah, you do.
Okay, then there's the sweepstakes, Mike. Don't let me forget.
There you go. And so we will impact.
By the way, thanks for ruining the podcast.
You're welcome. Yeah. We will impact 18 people's lives. And Anthony said this, we will change 2 people's lives. 1 employee, 1 member of Team loanDepot. And he kept on talking about, when he was kind of pitching me the idea that the next 10, the next 10, the next 10, he doesn't want the first decade, the first 10 years to look like the next decade, the next 10 years. And I just came up with the kind of brand theme of
So
Next X.
So this is a cool pivot comment because you just hit the nail on the head here. Things change
all the time.
So from a branding and a marketing perspective, things evolve.
Yeah.
So we've just come through 10 years. We're going into another 10 years, and things are going to change. And a lot of our loan people understand this because a lot of them came through crisis in 2008 through 2010, and they know what change means.
Yeah.
They've had to do it themselves.
Sure.
So how do you see a brand's evolution? How do you see loanDepot's brand evolution? What does that mean? And where does it go? Does it become so amorphous you can't control it, or what's your insight into that space?
How much more hair did you have 10 years ago?
Yeah, I've had a big forehead for a long time.
How has life changed for you in 10 years? Seriously.
Yeah. Well, so it's funny. I just spoke at my high school today. So I graduated in 2000, and so it's 2020, and I got asked to come speak to around 50, 60 kids at the FBLA, which is the Future Business Leaders of America Club. And it was a wild experience for me because I stood up on the little, stage. They had like a little speaking stage, and I went, and I looked at the kids there, and I was like, oh, that used to be me.
Yeah.
I even went to the gym to see if like they still had up my like trophies from like the previous sports glory days. And yeah, I mean, I've changed dramatically from that little guy there to this guy now.
Do you think you could have back then? You said I won't out your age. Back then, 10 years ago.
I'm 38. You can out it. It's okay. I'll out myself.
So at 28 years old, do you think you could have really looked 10 years in the future and really known that you were sitting in this seat today and doing what you're doing?
No chance.
Same thing for businesses. It's a evolution. It's a iterative type process, and I don't claim to know where our brand is going to be in 10 years, but I do know it'll be different. And I talk about this all the time about companies do evolve, and you have to be open to change. And I've been through challenges in my life where I've been open to change, and some experiences in life where I've kind of had blinders on and I haven't seen the bigger picture. So as our company evolves throughout the next 10 years, I think we just mature. If you look at a 10-year-old kid and how much maturity happens when they're 10 years old versus 20, there's a lot of maturity that happens in growing up. I think it'll be similar for us. So yeah, no idea. I will be the first to tell you when I don't have the answer. But it will change. Our voice will change. I think our core will still be the same as long as Anthony is in the seat he's in. He's driving. He's steering this ship, driving this ship.
Yeah. He likes ship analogies. It's all good. He's on
a
lot of boats. But I will say this too, for anybody who's kind of, if that feels too uncertain for people, our actions also dictate where we walk towards. There would be no Modern Lending podcast if there wasn't 100 videos in 100 days for me.
Yeah.
There would be no 100 videos in 100 days if there was no Modern Lending playbook for me. There's, for a lot of our loan officers who are building their business, there would be no Alec in this business if Don Abrams down in the coast didn't take a chance on a 23-year-old kid and give him the opportunity to earn his referral business. And, that wouldn't have happened if I didn't show up every freaking day and harass the guy relentlessly to work with me. So I just patience is such a key word here that I lack to the ends of the earth. I have zero patience.
Yeah.
But man, when you look back at all of it, it does start adding up.
Right.
And action begets action. And the more we lean into it, the more we have control, or at least some influence on where the destination becomes.
Yeah. I think to really build something special, some other projects I've been at other companies are, 12, 18, 24 month long projects.
Yeah.
In the marketing world, and patience is the key, but also knowing where you're going.
Yeah. Vision.
Having that vision, which is passed down from leadership.
Yep.
But there's not a brand out there today that I can think of that is a world-renowned brand that happened overnight or even in 5 or 10 years. So
no doubt,
patience is the key, and being open to that change.
So let's do this. Let's slightly pivot, and I would love for you to start to share kind of how you view branding and marketing, and that little acronym thing you were talking to me about earlier. I think it's going to have tremendous value for people. I think it's going to be helpful And I think this is like the note-taking time, PS. So if you're like listening and you're driving, like pull over so you can like scratch some notes down somewhere, or just hit pause and be safe. But this is good stuff because I want people to hear it, have a chance to marinate on it, see how it can fit into what they're striving for. I mean, we are talking about executing, patience, having vision for what you want to create. And I think you have some good messaging on this.
Yeah, so I gave a 15-minute talk in front of a decent-sized group last year, and I really wanted to get across the two things: what is a brand and the power of storytelling. And I started it by saying, not storytelling in the movie making style or any of that, but storytelling with a business agenda, with a goal. How do you make more money? How do you get more leads? How do you get more referral partners?
Build more influence. Yep.
Yeah. So I wrote down one night, I was like, I'll come up with an acronym for brand and kind of some key elements that I use in my day-to-day. And the first one was to be brave. And I gave the example of Steve Jobs when he first launched. You could probably pick any number of Steve Jobs projects, but especially the iPhone.
Yeah,
project.
I mean, I was going to almost jump on you. That's the biggest thing that they're known for. I mean, that changed the whole face of the company.
Changed the face of the world.
Yeah.
It really did. But the amount of probably hundreds of millions of dollars that they had to put in R&D for that. And I showed a clip of, I'm not sure if you've seen this. I showed a clip to make light of the situation, but Steve Ballmer, ex-CEO of Microsoft, he was interviewed on camera the same week that iPhone launched. It was all the buzz. It was, everyone was talking about it. The Jesus phone, they called it.
Yeah, it was huge.
And someone asked him about iPhone, and he just kind of laughed. He was like, a phone that it's not going to appeal to business customers because it doesn't have a keyboard.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's what he believed.
And the entire 1,300 people after they saw that clip of Steve Ballmer, knowing now 10, 12 years later, what the iPhone has done for business, for social, and communication, it's laughable. So my point was to be brave, and that looks different for every person.
Yeah, but I love it as a starting point. I love it as a starting point because it's the truth. And by the way, people need to hear it more often, because some of us and some of my team and a lot of you loan officers out there have achieved a certain level of success that you should be proud of, and you're not being brave anymore.
Right.
And I see it, and I can tell when somebody's not being brave anymore, where they're just refusing to do the hard work anymore.
Right.
And their business just starts to degrade.
Right.
And I love that you're starting with brave. I think it's important. I think it's overlooked, and it's a core aspect.
Right. And that means something different for me as a marketing professional than it does for a sales professional.
Yeah,
it means something different, but from a marketing perspective. The second one was our brand research. Do your research, know your audience, know who your customer is, know what they want, know what wakes them up every day. Do your research, know your audience.
Yep.
So important.
Well, and massively important, because we all should admit that we can't be everything for everybody. And if we can spend the time to understand what kind of realtor professional do I want to work with, what kind of customer do I feel best led to serve, and we really define that part of our audience, we can curate our business and really do what we need to do. Mm-hmm. I know there's a lot of people that are pulled in so many different directions trying to be everything for everybody.
Right.
And if they just spent some research and really focused it in on and kind of reverse engineered, they'd probably be a lot happier and a lot more successful.
Yeah. I gave an example of what not to do.
Oh, yeah, I'm in.
JCPenney.
Sorry, I'm laughing already. What did they do? Or what's the story?
This was somewhere around 2014.
Yeah.
Something like that. They wiped out their executive team, brought in a whole new team to really kind of rethink who they were.
Okay. What year was this?
14-ish. 2014.
Okay. Yeah.
But a company that really has been around for more than 100 years.
Yeah.
Right? So this was back when Best Buy started standing up little stores within a store type thing, right? Mm-hmm. And Best Buy's killing it, I think. But they took the same model. One of the executives that came on board with JCPenney was one of the guys that was pretty instrumental during the iPad and the iPhone launch.
Okay.
So a new Apple executive. So they're like, we're gonna redefine who we are. Their clientele was about a 55-year-old female. That was their key demographic.
Yep.
A demographic that I don't want to stereotype, but they like coupons, they like sales.
Yep.
Type thing.
So your customer.
They came up with a new logo. They came up with a TV commercial, a whole brand, and they got rid of all sales. No more promotions, no more sales.
Yep.
Little niche stores within a store, a high-end shopping experience type thing. They didn't do their research. They probably did, but they overlooked it, and they didn't know who their key demographic, their audience, their customer was, and their sales plummeted. And they almost went, I don't know if they almost went out of business, but they had severe hardship, and then they went back to the way it was. So do your research.
That's a really good example of how to do your research.
Yeah.
All right. So we have B, brave.
B, R.
R, research.
Right.
What's
A, authentic. And we touched on this earlier. You can try and be an Alec and do 100 videos in 100 days, but if you're not really comfortable in front of the camera, do something that works for you.
I like that. I agree with that message.
Right. I mean, you're good on camera. Not everyone is, and it takes baby steps. I think everyone can be, but it's not for everyone.
It's a developed skill.
It is
for sure.
It is. So yeah, just really truly be authentic to yourself. Understand what you're good at and lean in all the way on that.
Yeah, I think authenticity can't be underscored enough. I think it's one of the biggest and most important ways to connect with humans to your why. If you bring your authentic why out, I'll give a story. I got stories too. We actually hired this guy, and so I'm not going to name names, but he was out on a recruiting trip to loanDepot. We fly people out and we hang out with them.
Sure.
And when we sat down to dinner, his real passion started to come out of what he really wants to do. He came through the foster system. He's personally fostering a lot of kids. He has a tremendous passion and heart. He wants to buy this facility to create a place where once kids come out or graduate out or grow out of the foster system, if they don't have a job or they can come and they can get housed and they can learn some kind of trade skill and they can kind of launch from this facility. And as he shared that to me, I looked at him. I'm like, dude, I did my Facebook stalking before we had dinner. Like I looked you up. I looked you up on all the platforms. I had no clue. This is what turns you on. Mm-hmm. Like this is why you get out of bed every day. Why are these things not connected? I know in your head, every commission check is going to build this thing. Why is this not connected for the world to see? And by the way, it wasn't just me. Dan was there, and we were all leaning on this guy. But it was really incredible to watch because it's starting to come together now, and I'm seeing it now, and I'm inspired. Like his authentic self is really shining through. He's not just a mortgage sales guy. He's got a mission, from the Lord, and he's going to go execute, and it's really cool. Mm. So I would encourage everybody on this authentic thing. Same thing with this gal in San Diego. When she was listening to a lot of my talk on branding, and she was like, it connected in a really cool way where she said, what do I want to do when I retire? Well, I want to help women and make them financially literate and financial fitness.
Right.
And why am I waiting until I retire? Like, why? Like, why don't I just do this right now? Yeah. And so she started to put a curriculum together. She started finding other badass women who run, CPAs and financial planners and estate planners, and she's put on all these workshops for women. It's so awesome.
Right.
And so I just think that finding your authentic self and letting it out and letting it connect and being a human, like a whole human,
right,
it changes the game.
I think it goes back to when I was telling my story of how I got into creative.
Yeah.
Really the light bulb moment going off in my head where I found something that I was truly passionate about. I started my security company because, again, wanted to be my own boss.
Yeah.
Want to make my own money and, not work for the guy.
Yeah. The man,
the guy.
It's the guy now. It used to be the man. Yeah. It's now become the guy.
Yeah. But then truly found something that brought me joy and happiness, and I wanted to be authentic to what I wanted in life, and led me to where I am now.
So we hit brave, We hit research. We hit authentic. What's next?
North Star.
Go ahead. Break it down.
Yeah. It goes back to the whole conversation around brand and who you are. And some people, like I said, maybe that's defining your mission statement. Maybe it's a purpose statement. Maybe it's none of the above, but it really is. Find that North Star. Why do you do what you do? If you can actually put it on words, that will put it in words. That will filter its way into your marketing. Yeah. It just becomes all encompassing. No, I've seen it turn companies around when they can truly articulate why they do what they do. Whether it's a mission statement, whether it's a rebrand, whether it's whatever it is, truly find that North Star and define who you are as a company, why you do what you do. Yeah. I think those two examples too, I was touching on already. They've connected, and their why is shining through. And it's not just a mortgage anymore; it's a purpose. Right. Last one's a little bit more tactical. So diversity. Okay. And be diverse in your marketing efforts. Yeah. This is really important. The whole world of omni-channel now. Yeah. So, not too much to dig in there, but that's kind of a no-brainer. I think it is a lot to dig in there, because if you look how I got my business in 2003 when I started, it was 100% from real estate professionals. Some from friends and family, but I was 23, so they were going to trust me. Right. They shouldn't trust me anyway. But it was 100, and for years, I got all of my business from real estate professionals. I started to get some from my past customers because I started to actually have some, which is good. But I was not diversified. Like, that was it. Sure. And so, but today, fast forward, not only are real estate professionals still a great partnership to have, but there's home builders, total different avenue for different people. Yep. There's obviously our past customers. There's direct to customer interaction and influence on social media and digital marketing. There's direct customer access through local marketing. You've got, at loanDepot, we can partner with HR companies and do employee benefit packages. We can partner with credit unions and have them broker in. It goes on and on. And I think diversification is a huge way to insulate yourself from market swings and insanity. Right. But it just takes a little bit of willingness to go get uncomfortable again and be brave. Sure. And put yourself out there to kind of grow those. Right. Yeah, I think there's, of course, those are not the only 5 things that I practice in branding, but that's kind of wrapping it up into those 5 letters. Those are 5 big key elements that I think if you get those right, you'll be on the right track. And 5 kind of cornerstone pieces that I've used just in my marketing career. Awesome. Yep. All right, so we're running down. That was a huge, gift to anybody else paying attention. So just the acronym brand and how it works. So we already kind of unpacked that. But is there anything else that you feel excited about, led to share, that the sales force out there, the leadership out there that's listening, should know about? I think it all kind of goes back to our Next X conversation and around the fact that there's probably only one company out there, a mortgage company, that is a household name, and that's because they've spent hundreds of millions of dollars on marketing, consumer-facing marketing. Oh, yeah. I hear that all the time, that no one's heard of us. We're in all 50 states. I think there's a massive opportunity, and I think that's part of why I'm here, is to really help us become just kind of that trusted, known name in the mortgage industry. Yeah. Lots of great companies out there. How do we uniquely position ourselves as that trusted advisor? Yeah, there's huge power in brand. I always describe it as kind of a coin. One side of the coin is your company brand, and it needs to help you. And one side of the coin is you as a human being and your personal brand. Yeah. And I've been at certain companies where the company side of the coin was not as strong, potentially. But I've also been part of, Countrywide, and when that brand became a national household name over time, right, it was massively helpful for me as an originator. Sure. To walk out there with that jersey on, and people would instantly connect me to the power of that brand. Yeah. And it matters. And you're right. I think there's a huge opportunity ahead for loanDepot to lean into that space and
earn that national seat at the table.
Familiarity with customers when they see that brand, that logo, that name, and they've heard of it. You know, my neighbor used them, my aunt used them. When the bigger we become, the more powerful we are, and there's a bit of a snowball effect with that.
So how long till that's done? A couple weeks?
2 months.
Yeah. 2 months it'll be handled.
I've been here 4, so 6 months sounds
2 more.
good.
Anthony Shea's writing that down right now.
I do say that, but I also have a massive amount of respect that the work has been done in the first 10 years, and I take nothing away. You know, we've become the number 2 company.
Yeah.
And I asked Anthony that question. I said, before I joined, I said, you're the number 2 non-bank lender out there. You've got a good thing going. Why do you need me? I said, you don't need me. He laughed. He said, company doesn't need me anymore. I think, jokingly, of course.
Yeah, of course. I get it.
And so, you know, we've got a good thing going, and I'm massively, being a member of this organization now, I'm massively proud of what came before me, and couldn't be more grateful. I wouldn't be here had that hard work not been done with people that are with the company now, and some people that have left the company.
Sure.
Some hard work has been put into where we are now. And I don't take that lightly, because the brand kind of is now my responsibility under Anthony and Jeff's leadership. So I don't take that lightly, and, you know, I don't presume to think that I can give the company a new face type thing. No plastic surgery.
Just let the heartbeat go.
So
this is awesome. I just want to say this in closing, guys. Really, when you look at brand, taglines, color schemes, logos, all has a place. It's honor it, respect it. But really, when you're focusing on your brand and what you want to do, think about your heartbeat. Think about what makes you tick and what emotions your brand is going to be perceived, and how are people going to experience it. And I think the more you play in that space, the closer you're going to get to the actions and the results you want to drive in your life. It's right 1-2 punch.
Agreed.
All right, guys.
Well said.
So we're wrapping up. Thank you very much. If you have value, if you like this, if you don't like this, don't worry about it. But if you did, subscribe, like, share, spread the message. Appreciate you guys. We are out.
Peace.